Welcome, everybody, to the Deconstructor of Fun podcast. I'm your host, Mishka Katkov, and today my guest is Massimo Caporale, Chief Publishing Officer of Bandai Namco Mobile. Massimo, welcome to the podcast, and could you tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself? What do you do? Where do you come from? I mean, people know from your name you come from Italy, but what about your gaming career and everything about yourself? So, Massimo, the floor is yours.
Hi, Misha. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. Sure, as you say, you can tell by the name I'm Italian. I was born and raised in Rome, but actually my gaming career started in Scotland. That's actually where I did my university. I started in software engineering and AI because I really wanted to get into the gaming industry, and I figured back then AI could be quite useful for that. But then I realized I didn't really want to be a developer. But I still got into the games industry straight off uni. I started in QA. I started in mobile, actually. Back in the Java times. My first game was FIFA 2005, 18 years ago. I can hardly call it a game nowadays, right? But that was the mobile gaming back then. Yeah, that's where it started, and then I moved into production, working on console as well for launch title on PS3. Then I moved a bit more on the publishing and biz dev side of things, mostly on mobile. Yeah, aside from like 1 year stint on console, the rest of my 18 years experience has been focused solely on mobile. I worked with various companies around Europe, based in Italy, UK, Sweden, Germany. I worked for carriers, publishers, the whole spectrum of mobile as it evolved from carrier-based distribution of Java games to to smartphones nowadays. I joined Bandai Namco 6.5 years ago in Lyon, where they were setting up the mobile team in Europe, alongside, of course, mobile teams that were already existing in the US and the big one in Tokyo. I joined as a producer because I wanted to be, that phase of my career where I wanted to be closer again to making games. And this is actually a recurring theme because many of the people we have here now are following that path of really wanting to be more hands-on after having been more in management positions. So I joined the team where it was just started, and then after a couple of years, I took over the management of the team and started working on the project of creating a more mobile-focused company. And we realized that we needed kind of a better location, let's say, where there was more of an ecosystem of mobile gaming companies, and where it was easier to attract international talent as well. So that's why we researched a lot, and that's why we ended up with picking Barcelona. And so we have still the Bandai Namco Entertainment Euro company is in Lyon, focusing on console, and we created Bandai Namco Mobile here in Barcelona to focus solely on mobile games. So we set up the company like almost 3 years ago now, but we opened the office a couple of years ago. Here we started building a development team, which is something we didn't have in Lyon, and it's actually the only mobile development team that the group has outside of Japan. So we started that from scratch, and then we brought our publishing and marketing teams from Lyon, and then we expanded on them here. So right now, basically, the company here is split into game development, publishing, and marketing teams, and my role here is to oversee all of those product teams. As you might know from our discussions previously, we have a flat structure here. So I don't manage the teams like the traditional way, like hands-on. I'm here to act as a servant leader to support the teams and provide, of course, the high-level strategy, and then leave the execution down to the team. So that's my role here.
Yeah, and that's one of the key reasons why we're having this conversation is that
Indeed.
the setup in Barcelona is in many ways unique, but in many ways also familiar, and in all the ways very different that you would consider a Japanese game developer would adopt. I mean, you know, we know how Japanese work. They work very hard. So, and I'm not saying you guys don't work hard. I'm just saying that they work very long hours. Let's put it this way: they work very long hours. So, what's really interesting about the Bandai Namco Barcelona is that you guys are trying something very different when it comes to the way you're making the games, not only from the parent company, but also from most of the mobile studios and most of the game developers around the world. According to my knowledge, I know this is probably old news, but you used to have 17 people. You might probably have more now. As you said, the team is split between publishing and game teams, but also the game teams is split into smaller teams working on different types of prototypes. And your goal is not to ship anything small. Of course, Bandai is one of the largest developers and publishers in the world. So your goal is to ship big games that make impact in Bandai's portfolio. But also, you're not making games with existing IPs, but you're making games with new IPs. So you're also creating IPs. You don't have, according to my information and public information, you don't have deadlines. You don't manage people, like as you said, and we'll talk more about that. Latest news is that you work only a 4-day week. I don't know, only is the right word to say, but you've constructed the way that you work a 4-day week. And everything that I just said is counter to anything that one would think about a Japanese developer. And yeah, and we did a little bit of an analysis and deconstructor of fun, and when you read it, and that's why it's really important that we have a conversation, but when you read it, you can sense an unintended signs of culture of complacency, because you have the beautiful city of Barcelona, you have 4-day week, you don't have deadlines, you're working on prototypes, which is the most fun thing you could be doing when making games. It gives a little bit of a different perspective. So I'm curious to hear, like, how did you end up choosing this type of a model? Like, what led to it?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in what you covered. A lot of stuff, and some corrections to make, actually. So let's try and analyze this. So the why is the most important, right? It's like why have we built a company this way? So as I said, we decided to build a new company focused on mobile, and that's actually a great opportunity to take a step back and consider, what culture we wanted. Because changing the culture of a company that exists is super hard. When you build a new company where you're gonna hire a lot of new people, then actually you have a prime opportunity to set the right company culture. Well, basically we analyzed the market, and we analyzed what we need. As you say, as part of Bandai Namco Group, we have very successful mobile titles, so we won't be satisfied with average performing titles. So we need to shoot for the top 100. That would be something that could fit well in our portfolio and make us proud within the group. So for that, really, we think the focus on innovation it's super important for us, because and I know you have something to say on the innovation as well, right? But basically, to create a space for us in the market, we saw that innovation is really important, right? We don't want to make another similar games to the top grossing ones. That model has been tried and failed many times. And I mean, we have to look at this also in the context of the bigger group approach, where we still do continue to work on certain kind of games based on Japanese IPs or arcade, anime. So what I want to do here is to expand our group portfolio and try and go more targeting innovation. For that, we saw that the companies that basically managed to put out different kind of titles out there, like different genre, quite innovative, with different IPs, they're quite a handful, right? I mean, I know you mentioned in your article references to Supercell, but by all means, that's one of our inspirations. We went to visit their office to chat with them before setting up the company to understand how they work, the stuff that works, the stuff that doesn't work, the challenges that they have. So we're very aware of the limits of this as well, and how challenging it is. But basically, the focus on innovation is what led us to understand that to reach that goal, we need to give more freedom to the teams, right? And the creating new IPs is twofold also. One is to complement the IPs that we already have coming from Japan. We want more Western focused IPs. And the other one is actually to foster innovation, right? Because innovating based on existing IPs is very challenging, because IPs, especially our IPs, come with many, many constraints. Whereas, giving the team the freedom to work on new IPs allows them really to explore more. So that's one factor. The other factor is also, we want to create a top level company here. There's a fight for talent going on, clearly. So you have to differentiate yourself not only on the product you put out, but also on the company you build and what you offer to the talent, right? So we recognize we need to innovate on the company side as well. So by being different and coming here in Barcelona, where there is already an existing pool of talent, that for us was a good strategy to be able to attract the best talent. And again, is the focus on flat structure led us to having the need to have a small team and a focus on quality versus quantity. This quality versus quantity we have with the selection of product we work on. We don't work on tens of products. We really want to focus on top grossing titles, a few of them that perform well. We have it on people, small teams with very high experience. And yes, on the 4-day week as well, I want to focus on, maybe less quality time where we can really concentrate, all work together and perform, and strike a better balance with our life. So we have an extra day off, and we think this can lead to more creativity, more innovation, happier, healthier teams, and why not? It's also a way to differentiate ourselves, and attract even better talent. So that's the why. In terms of the team that you mentioned, we have 17 people in the game development team. As a whole, as a company, we're 38 now. We are growing slowly. Again, want focusing on quality more than speed. We target for now a maximum size of like 70 people, because we want to maintain that kind of flat structure, which we know we've seen companies fail and have big issues when they grow and they go like 200 people. Flat structure, not manageable, right? You need to put layers and layers, and you put people there. They need to manage other people, and that kind of messes up the whole flat structure culture. So we really fight to keep this more. We don't have deadlines, you mentioned. Well, yeah, we don't have like schedules, week by week schedules, because I believe that deadlines are only meaningful where they're logical, right? Where there is a logic behind it, then it's meaningful. But that doesn't mean we have like no pressure on the teams or no deadlines at all to do anything, and just take your time, enjoy life on the beach, as you say. That's not the point. I want people here and they understand that they here have the best chance of their life to make games, make the best games they can possibly make, because we give them all the opportunities for that. So I feel everyone is very conscious of the big opportunity, and that this is not going to last forever if there's no results. So the pressure is there, and in fact, from the article that you put out, we said that we were working on 4 prototypes. Well, that just become 3 because one was killed this week. because of the pressure, having to really believe in what you're doing and that you can bring this out to market in a timely manner. So we don't have deadlines from the top, but as a studio, we know we need to achieve. We need to release something next year, let's say, and we need to start showing progress and showing results.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack what you said as well. So it seems to be the focus is on freedom, because when you build the right type of a culture, when you focus on innovation, that means you need to build a culture with freedom, because it allows people to explore. You've said freedom also in the sense that you don't have existing IPs you're working on, like Dokkan Battle or anything like that, because you have a freedom to explore rather than iterate on an IP. So that's another element of the freedom. And then, of course, the flat culture and the flat structure, not flat culture, flat structure is an element of freedom as well, because you don't have those managerial relationships. You don't have to deal with the one-on-ones and the development plans. It's like you're here to make games. You're not here to move forward in your career path, if you will. Exactly. It's like your career is the games you ship, which is, everybody should understand that that's the most important part. And the final part is like, I understood that those elements, and just like as I wrote in the analysis, is it definitely is a game developer's dream, because all these elements sound perfect for somebody who makes games. But I tried to look at it from the other perspective as well. Like, yeah, as a game maker, paradise. You got the Barcelona, you got the backing of a very, very strong publisher developer. You have great people around you because you have the resources, you have the culture, you have the pool of the talent, not only due to the location, but also due to your funding that allows people to take a risk and move to a different country in a different city. So you're working with great people around you. But then again, like the 4-hour week sounds perfect for me, but from a manager's perspective, from executive perspective, I think you're the person who feels the pressure to deliver. And you're kind of withholding to some extent that pressure from the teams so that they can focus on the creativity, so they can focus on innovation. And you're kind of the person at the studio who's carrying the pressure of actually delivering, because Bandai has had previously studios in Vancouver as well. We know everything. Like we know the background, and it's not only Bandai, it's any company. If you can't deliver on what you said you will deliver, the lights will be turned off. No matter where you are, no matter what the backing is, that's just the reality of life. So I understand your perspective as well. So I wanted to kind of like ask first of what are the successes as you switch to this model? Like, have you seen the success case in seeing more innovative approach, seeing better pool of talent? Like, what are the pros of this approach?
So the pros are definitely that we have seen a lot of interest and a lot of talent coming here, believing in in what we want to do, like how we want to do it, and that we managed to attract people with a lot of experience. They really wanted to escape this trap of being stuck in the managerial role and just want to make games because that's what they love to do. So put a lot of effort in hiring the right people, and I'm really happy to see the people that we have here. I'm happy also to see that the culture is absorbed, and they live the culture, and they help evolve it also, because clearly as a new company, one thing is to have the culture on paper, one thing is to live it and discover day by day what challenges are there, because it's not all a walk in the park. Clearly, the flat structure has its challenges as well in how do you make decisions, for example, the big one. But I'm really happy of the team we've managed to build here, and the fact that they're all happy and motivated. They're not frustrated by the situation. We're really motivated. Then that said, we as a company here in Barcelona, we work on several different things, not only creating new innovative games with new IPs. We have a publishing team as well that works on our existing IPs, partnering with external studios, and we're working on on two top 50 Apple Arcade games. Developing on more games in the pipeline. So that's our way also to differentiate the business. And on the marketing side, they don't only work on the games published by publishing team. They will work on games made by the game team as well in the future. But right now, they're also working on games coming from Japan. On top grossing games. We're building a super experienced team here, and actually we've seen great results with them working on those games, and we've seen year-on-year growth on all the projects that we work on from Japan. So we are already having an impact on the group here, being able to attract these Western talent in prime location with this structure. And in fact, despite planning to build a company where we're going to invest, a lot of money in the first 5-6 years, losing money because we need to build a company, we actually managed to be profitable from day one, thanks to the differentiation of the project that we work on. So for me, that's also a big success, and this also allows us to share more with everyone, with all the employees, and give them the promise of when we can do even better, you'll enjoy even more the success of the company. No big failures yet, to be honest. Big, but lots of failures, like on a daily basis. Lots of issues that we encounter, but of course we take this as a learning, and when it comes to games, to processes, how to work as a flat structured team, people, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, Massimo, that's a veteran move that you're doing there. You're putting your studio on the green right away so that you can continue investing into new. That's a whole different approach, and so we know how it works on the executive levels. When studio is on the red, it can't be on the red for too long, otherwise it's going to face the axe. But now that's a very important sort of a thing that you've done by bringing in the publishing as well as new game development under the same roof. And because your team size is relatively small, it's probably quite simple to keep it on the green until you start scaling actually the games and the marketing budgets kicks in. So yeah, veteran move. Kudos on that. so okay, and yeah, okay. So you switched to this model. It has been great in bringing in people. It has been great in keeping people happy. It has been working as intended, and you haven't seen any negative parts of it. And that leads to my question is like, how do you hire to make sure that you hire the right type of people, meaning people who are probably hungry, because you're looking for senior people, and the risk with senior people is that they're not always hungry. They've kind of been there, done that. They're more in like, I could be a great mentor for somebody. I could do a hell of a talk. I could, enjoy my time at the studio and teach the young guns, but doing myself stuff, I could dabble a little bit, but I'd rather have a team. And then the second part is, how do you make sure that you hire humble people? Because what I mean by humble is not meek, but people who have done things. They are senior, they're veterans, they've seen it, they've done it, they have success in their life. How do you make them work with others? Because they might come in and say, this is how I do things. I'm very passionate, I'm very, goal-driven, aggressive in a good sense, but I also might be bulldozing others because this is the way that I do things, and it has worked in my career, and thus, I'm working. So just thinking about like, how do you really hire? I don't know if you hire hungry and humble people, but those are kind of like the characteristics that I would be looking for when searching for the type of profile that I was reading.
Yeah, no, we've put together like a list of things that are important for us when we hire people, to make sure the whole interviewing panel is aligned with this. And we have the candidates go through several interviews with basically different disciplines, and the whole team is involved in the hiring process, and we tackle different aspects in each interview. But basically, yeah, definitely we we are looking for senior people, professional, highly experienced, and that's for us is a must because we want to keep small teams, but the small teams still need to compete on the global market with teams of 100 people, right? So they need to be super experienced. But correctly, you said they need to be like hands-on. They want to be hands-on. So it's definitely not for everyone. We know. We've seen many people that just don't fit the culture. If you are kind of arrived, you want to find a comfortable place. That's not the place for you. If you're not humble, that's with a big ego, it's probably not going to work out. So we know it's not for everyone, and then we do our best to filter through the interview process the things that are important for us. Another good point is that they need to be autonomous, proactive people that can manage their workload, manage themselves, because we have no manager. It's important they're autonomous and proactive. Humble is important. You have to accept the failures and to be part as a team. So they need to be collaborative, and they need to be candid as well. In sharing their feedback. The only way to achieve big things is to work in a team and to improve day by day. So we encourage everyone to share candid feedback. We took inspiration from Supercell. We took inspiration also a bit from some parts of Netflix culture when it comes to candid feedback, minimizing rules. Is super important. As you correctly say, I act a bit as a filter, not only to filter the pressure, but also to filter out all of the bureaucracy and some processes that as being a Japanese companies we do have, right? But we do with all services team, me, the COO as well. We do a lot of work to try and minimize the impact on the team so they can spend their time where it's most important. On thinking about making games. But yeah, that's the kind of people we look for.
Sounds very familiar. The feedback loop especially is really important, and for those who are not familiar with the Netflix feedback loop, it's really like a 4-part thing where you start off with the feedback that is always given with an aim to assist somebody, so it comes from a good place. It's always actionable, so you're providing direct something that people can take into the next level, and not something vague and not something personal. The third part is always important, that the feedback is appreciated, because the goal is to give feedback up, not feedback down or feedback to the peers. So you have to thank for the feedback first, so that you can keep the loop going. And the final part, which is important in an autonomous organization, is that the person who receives the feedback can either accept it or reject it. So it's up to them, because they own their own work and they stand behind their own work, and they can't hide behind somebody else saying that he or she told me to do this and that's why I did it, but I didn't even agree with that. So that's an interesting part. I'm very curious, how do you test for humility? Because I find it as one of the most important sort of characteristics of a candidate, and also something that is very difficult to test for, and especially spot for during the probation period as well. Like it's incredibly important and very hard to test for. So how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, there is no official test for that, to be honest.
Yeah.
We look out for that throughout the interviews, and we have very different profiles carrying out the interviews. I also interview everyone, and I try and dig in that culture area a lot more than technical areas, of course. And then we observe this during probation, as you say, and we can make mistakes. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. But unfortunately, I don't have any secret tips to share on this point, other than talk with the people and try and get a feel for that. about how they handle certain situations, certain failures,
Yeah.
but you can only test it after a certain point anyways.
Yeah. Like what I've been, kind of discussing with people who interview and interviewing myself is when you're testing for humbleness, like one of the easiest way to approach it is to see how much the person uses we versus I. That's a quite typical thing when talking about failures, when talking about successes, when talking about, you know, you can ask them how have they handled certain failure, so you can see whether they kind of went back and redid something, or where they just kind of like pushed through it and kind of grit it out and did the same things again. And also, for those who are interviewing, it's sometimes useful to ask the candidate in a third person perspective of like, hey, how would your previous team um, characterize you, or how would they say about you, so that they can kind of reflect on themselves, and you can see people with humility that are putting elements of development. But also the difficult part about humility is you don't want to hire people who are meek, who are too humble, because they are the ones who don't give feedback, who always consider themselves inferior to the rest of the team, and then they will just fail because they don't have the self-confidence of push through it. So it's a really hard thing where you kind of have to balance in between of like person who is autonomous, confident, and a driver, but at the same time the person who doesn't drive over others but is actually a team player. So it's a that's why I'm asking how humility is a very important factor.
Totally. I mean, I don't buy that we versus I thing completely, because yeah, when someone answers me always, oh, we did this, we did that, yeah, okay, but what did you do? How did
Yeah,
you impact that? I really want to see what that person can bring, and I want that person to be conscious of the value that they bring, and kind of sell it sell it to me, and I want to understand how they're going to impact positively the team, how they would do things, right? Because I'm not going to hire the whole team, I'm going to
yeah, of
hire that
course,
person. So
of course.
but yeah, it's like it's very difficult, I agree.
Yeah, it's a balance. Yeah, and those are good questions to kind of dig deeper. It's like exactly like, so if somebody is trying to be too humble, you'd be like, so what did you do? Like, what was your role? What was your direct impact? And then and you're kind of getting them to answer in a real way. And another part is probably because you are offering such a great culture, such a great location, probably great pay, but it's not as an expensive location as many other European cities. So you have a tax benefit, you have a salary that is comparable to most of the game development cities or game development clusters, and you're living at a slightly lower cost region. It's a a triple threat, if you will. So it's no wonder that he chose that location over others. But there are plenty of other companies as well. So you have to actually compete pretty hard against them. I wanted to ask regarding that, the hungerness. So you have this great location. How do you test then for a person who is actually coming in to work and not coming in to cruise, or to kind of like get to the vacation life of Barcelona? How do you filter those out?
And you haven't even seen the office yet, because we have an office
Oh,
by
I saw some pictures.
by
Is
the
it
beach. Okay.
is it by the W Hotel?
No, it's we can see the Blue Hotel, we can see the Sagrada
Yeah.
Familia, we can see everything. But no, it's those two towers, the Mapfre Tower by the Olympic Port, so a bit further
Oh,
down the coast, other side of
yeah,
Barcelona. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
nice.
it's
That's right
bougie.
by the beach. Well, so how do we test for hungerness? Yeah, that's part of the motivation, test, which I actually dig a lot into. So I want to understand why they're interested about coming to work for us. What is their ambition? What they actually want to do? If they come from a management role, why they want to change, how do they manage, what is their management style, because that tells me a lot of how they're going to relate with the team. Yeah, but basically is understanding what they really want to do, because I'm clear with them. This is a two-way deal. So we want you to be here and be productive and happy, but you need to be happy, right, doing
Hmm.
what you want to do. So we need to be transparent on what is it that person really wants to do in their life? What is their next step? They've been, director of this or that. Now you want to be hands-on. Why? Convince me.
Yeah.
Tell me, and you can normally tell if people are driven by a passion. What's missing in their life, what's pushing them to go from maybe a comfortable management position where they need to pass messages along, and that's it, and want to go back into the game. um, yeah, these basically the ambition for me is what's the driver to understand if they have that hunger of doing something, accomplishing something, or not.
Yeah, that's a good part, and especially it's very clear to ask for because you have a very clear profile. You're looking for people who have extended experience in career, and they're kind of taking not a step back, but a step to the parallel where they're focusing again on being individual contributor instead of a lead. Um, I don't know if you tried this, but one of the things that I like to ask regarding the hunger is because hunger is like work ethic essentially, and work ethic is something that defines you. People rarely become hard workers later on in their life. They're either hard workers throughout their life or they're not. Like that's how it tends to be. So sometimes it's good to ask like what kind of jobs they had as a teenager, because people who work hard when they were teens tend to work throughout their life. At least that's in my experience. So I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that? Because you're kind of thinking.
um, yeah, mixed thoughts.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has got their personality, and that doesn't change. At the same time, um, what you do motivates you uh, to work as well, right? So
Yeah,
someone that's good at doing something might not necessarily be as hardworking doing something else, right? So
of course.
that's why for me it's important to understand the motivation that drives them here, because if the motivation is not aligned, then I cannot expect excellent performance from these people. And then on top of that, again, we're not in a factory having to push the productivity to the maximum.
Yeah.
We really want the engagement more than anything. We want people to put their whole mind and dedication into it. So yeah, hard worker in the sense, very dedicated and engagement. But I don't need to have people that are really like working through the night. That's not the kind of profile that um, the kind of quality that we
Hmm.
need here. We're prioritizing more the quality and the input they can bring over the hardworking kind of long
Yeah.
hours
Well,
profile. But
well,
you know,
there's what I meant was is even let's say somebody's a teenager. Let's say they didn't have a job, but they did a sport. Let's say they played football. And a person with a great work ethic is if they practice, themselves, if they put in different skills, they're like, I need to work on my passing, I need to work on my kicking, and they're improving and they're, you know, getting their spot, and they love it. Of course, nobody's forcing them to do it, but they love it. They want to become better, and they're passionate. They're playing a team sport as well. So I tend to ask these type of questions, like, what did they work for to achieve something when they were a teenager, instead of just, I just went to school and just kind of did the minimum. then then things can change, but it's a good indication that whether it was a sport or whether it was art or whether it was programming when you were a kid, somebody just taught themselves how to program, whether they learned how to draw, whether they learned how to, I don't know, act.
yeah. What
Those are
what
all
challenges did
ways.
you pick up when you were younger as well,
Exactly,
or
exactly.
throughout
And
your life? What challenges you yeah,
yeah,
faced?
and worked yourself without anybody telling you, but you were motivated to achieve that, and that has been what characterizes you as a young kid already, or a teenager. To me, that's a strong sign that the person has a work ethic. Of course, given that they have the motivation to do the stuff. So anyway, just just something. I love
Cool,
interviewing.
cool.
So
Interesting,
so
interesting.
yeah, I've done quite a few interviews, so I've come up with all kinds of tests. I don't know if those are right. That's why I'm kind of throwing them, and I like that you're pushing back, and it makes me reflect as well whether those are good questions or not. Um, You mentioned Supercell in the beginning, that you went to their wooden palace that is actually not far from here. You sat down with the teams, kind of discussed, and I know that you have some ex Supercell people who are working at Bandai Namco Mobile. What were the sort of key learnings that you got from them? Because Supercell has evolved quite a bit. Like even if you read through the CEO's blog posts, there's a lot of self-reflection of what went wrong, what went right, how do we keep what was right and evolve to compete in this sort of a new era of mobile.
Well, visiting them and discussing with people that have worked there. Indeed, when we did this exercise initially, was like 3-4 years ago. So definitely the Supercell of back then, which, as you rightly say, has evolved because they are facing challenges, and also, the team is expanding there, and the culture evolves normally. So I mean, I don't wanna speak for Supercell. You wanna chat with them about their own challenges, but we did learn that it's not all a walk in the park. It's not all easy. They were very honest in sharing their challenges, whether it comes to hiring or making decisions or making up teams. So it's really it's really hard to have this flat structure, right? Especially from a management perspective, because we do have the pressure, right? So at some point you need to kind of direct and you can't. It's difficult to just take a step back and just look and hope for it to work out. You can't do that. So, but at the same time, we saw that the results, are there because it's the one of the few, if not the only company that has managed to achieve success over and over again with different kind of games and different IPs. So we're very aware of the challenges they had back then, very aware of the challenges they have now. And this is going to definitely inform our future, the steps we take, and we try to avoid those. Many of the issues, I think, are coming from the pressure on doing better and better and better and more and more. And when you've done so much, it's difficult to top yourself. And surely growing in size is a big challenge, because you start to having to making compromise. You might have to like lower the bar of the people you hire, perhaps if you want to have bigger teams. It's normal. Put more layers in there. So I feel a bit they're facing challenges other companies have faced, in the growing. I think a lot comes from that. It's also true that the kind of live ops level that is needed and expected nowadays is different. So you do need bigger teams. Our approach would be to try really and focus on developing games that can be developed in a smart way and that can be handled without huge teams, and still keep the core team here cohesive and be smart in how we outsource more, maybe some kind of content creation. I mean, there's a lot of discussions in the studio in how we're gonna avoid those pitfalls, because as you know, we have people that have lived through that as well. So
So have you talked to Supercell since the sort of a kickoff like 3 years ago? Have you been able to get some powwow with them? Because one of the things that you could read, and if you talk to Supercellians, is like they've almost divided the jobs, which makes sense. There's live games and there's new games, and these are, anybody who's worked in development understands that these are totally two different jobs. You might have similar roles, but the content of that role is is different no matter where you are, whether you're an art director on a new game or an art director on an existing game. One is production heavy, big scale outsourcing, and the other one is probably hands on with great visual development skills. Like the absolutely different types of art directors. Same goes for literally every other discipline, whether we're talking about a technical director or a game designer or a game director. So that seems what they have done is kind of like divide them, so they keep the old ways of making new games, and then the live games are more mature way of operating. Of course, not the 200 people teams, but larger, and the I wouldn't say that lower the bar of a quality, but just bring different types of people. Like not everybody has to be the badass individual contributor. Now you actually need pieces of the machine. That's sadly it. You have to have specialists. So that's the way I kind of see it. But yeah, have you been discussing with them?
Yeah, we have several contacts there. We've been discussing on various aspects of the challenges that they have. As I said, we have people that have lived through it that can help us understand the challenges and prepare for those. But also the reality is that we are in a very early stage of the company. So we started building the studio 2 years ago with the first employee. Now we have 17 members in the development team. So we are facing the challenges of a startup, basically trying to define the way we work and discovering every step of the way. The moment we go like, okay, let's take the next step with this game idea. Suddenly more challenges appear. So we're very aware of the challenges further down the line. But at the same time, we're very much focused. The team is very much focused in the challenges we face today, which is indeed, we gotta find an innovation, we gotta push out to the market and start getting things out there. Being very aware that many more failures await us in the coming months and years until we're gonna have a success that we can be happy with.
Yeah, that's a profound way. I wanted to ask you regarding Supercell. There's the PR of Supercell, and then there's the real Supercell. So the real Supercell is a high stress environment. It's a incredibly well functioning beast of an organization that is able to complete profound games with small teams, and that is not due to lack of work ethic and talent. So how do you approach this sort of a balance between pressure and what's the opposite of a pressure? I don't know. I don't know what's the we've been living in high pressure life that we don't even know what's the
more balanced,
the other side.
I would say, a more balanced lifestyle.
Yeah, because the part that Supercell's pressure I feel comes from is the peer-to-peer pressure. You've stacked the team so well that everybody, and it's so skeleton in the sense that you don't have to have that top manager kicking everybody's chair and demanding demanding their best output. It's even worse. It's the peers that are demanding the best out of you, and they're the ones that give you the feedback, and they're the ones that are watching if you're slipping or not, if you deserve your spot under the golden sun of Supercell. So that's how it functions. That's how it functions in many top organizations, whether we're talking about the Barcelona Football Club, or whether we're talking about a top-notch hedge fund. That the peer pressure is what drives them rather than the manager. So how do you kind of like balance the balance and pressure?
So the pressure I think is needed, right? The peer-to-peer pressure is needed. As I say, it's what drives forward the business really. If you in a flat structure, where you don't have this excessive pressure coming from the top. You have to have it anyway. Otherwise, yeah, nothing is gonna move. So we do have the mindset of having to work like like a team, like a sports team. To be honest, we have to ensure that the best players are there, and if someone is not is not playing at their best, we try and fix it. Of course, we try and fix it, but if it's not working out, it's not working out. So I think that pressure is pretty much needed. So we do encourage that you're responsible, to your team, to your peers. Freedom and responsibility is something that is gonna ring a bell as well. But you get the freedom, but you need to show you deserve it, and you know how to use that freedom. So yes, that can lead to a high stress environment. We try and counter that with initiatives such as the 4-day week trial that we're running now. It's a trial we're running for 6 months. Where we try and give more life balance to everyone, still ensuring that they can concentrate in those 4 days, their best work, but have more time to also have more balanced lifestyle. There's no way we're gonna be successful if we don't have that kind of pressure. People don't feel like every minute they spend here they need to give their total best, right? Otherwise, yes, becomes a culture of complacency, and we're never going to achieve our ambitious targets, right? So we have that, and then we try and balance it with other things.
So I'm curious, how come you don't communicate this in the employment branding, that it is an environment with clear expectations, and we hire top-notch people for top-notch results. I'm not. Supercell kind of does the same. They don't communicate it. They do communicate it in the interview process. Once you kick it off, they're very clear of this is not a vacation spot. Like, this is 100% all the time. So yeah, how do you communicate that?
It's pretty much the same. So we are very, very clear every step of the way, and I'm personally very, very clear. This is not for everyone. This is you need to come here if you are fully committed to giving your 100% in taking the opportunity and make the best game, or but not only the game. This goes for the marketing team, for other teams as well. But like, give your full self to this, and be prepared, because it's tough and it's not for everyone. And if we are clear with that, and people are happy to take the challenge, that's the way to go forward. But we are very, very clear throughout the interview process. We might not, as you say, advertise it too much in the job ads. Let's say, I think, of course, recruitment is a whole specific skill with a funnel where you want to hook people first, and then get them to the process and give the right information at the right time. So that's about it. But we are very clear.
Yeah, I understand it, because also the fact that if you put in too much of these elements up front with your employer branding, you will be getting only a certain type of candidates, probably more men, probably more competitive, because others will, even though they fit the role perfectly and they would work in an excellent way in your company, they would just feel more intimidated to even apply. So I understand that the reasoning for both you as well as Supercell to keep the facts only to once the process has been kicked off. So it's never a surprise, but for those who don't know, it might be a surprise in the beginning when they tell you how it really is. So I wanted to kind of, like, before I let you go, I wanted to ask, how does the Bandai as a whole, like, how do they see this organization? Because you function in a very different way. So I'm curious, like, how were you able to sell it to them? I mean, you could say that Supercell is making a ton of money So we're going to do what they do. So that's a good reference. But also, there's only one Supercell. And I know SpaceApe has been working on this model, and they have their first piece of success, but it's not like, it's been a joyride for them. It's taken them a long time to find their stride.
This is basically the selling piece, that you just said. there's a proven model out there that works, but guys, be aware that this is not an easy ride. It's not just, let's just do that and it's gonna happen. It's gonna be tough. We need to be in for the long ride. It's gonna take time to invest, to build this company, build the culture, build a team, fail many times until we have the success. The good thing about BANDAI NAMCO as a group is actually the group is very happy to experiment, to try new things. Imagine that in the group there's like 60 different companies, and each company is effectively is part of a group, but effectively operates independently. So this shows that they are not the group is not afraid to try new things. And latest announcements of the company wanting to invest in metaverse, and it's like the culture in BANDAI NAMCO is very open to try, experiment. This mixed with, of course, we in the years before we came up with the proposal, we worked a lot on building trust. We showed that we could achieve a lot with a little. We had a small team in France, but we still were showing good results, and so we build the trust, which of course helps, especially in the in Japanese culture. There's a lot of personal trust building needed. That's basically how we I say we, but really is our COO is the one that's done all the job to convince and the group as a whole, and they have full trust, and they reiterate their trust in what we're doing on every occasion. So this has been great. Other studios, as I said, we are the only mobile development studio outside of Japan, and Japan, as I said, is very different culturally. So this would be quite difficult to do in Japan. So we don't have like direct sister companies that compare to us. But many of the other development teams and companies in the group, they share with us. They're very interested in following, how it's going for us. What learnings we can share with them, both for the company culture as a whole, but also with individual initiatives like the 4-day week that we were running. Everyone reached us, say, okay, share with us, please. How it's going. What you found out, the learnings, so we can see if it could work for us or not.
All right. Well, then, final one. What's your advice for studios that are looking to test this type of a model? Where should they start? What should they watch out for? How they should try it, or should they not even try it? If let's say you have a studio that is functioning in a certain way, is it even possible to pivot because you have certain type of people already? Like, it would require a massive restructuring, and do you even have the talent to attempt this type of an organization? What's your take on that?
Well, I think every company is different, right? And depends on the people that they have, the size. But I think it's very, very challenging to change a company culture once you have the company established. So that's why we did it when we were creating a new company. Then again, if it's like a small enough company where people can be, can get on board with the idea, they're quite aligned already, maybe it's possible, but this is only they will know. For sure, I think that from my perspective, it's something that they need to take into consideration is that it's hard. It's super hard. It's a lot harder than it sounds, to be honest, right? Because making this flat structure work, it's hard. But And it takes time. It takes time, right? Because you need to have, it's not your normal way of working. And everyone, if you start from scratch, everyone that's going to try and do it will not have done it before. So there's a lot of learnings that you need to do as a team. And that takes time. It takes time. There's no shortcut for that. You can talk to as many people and companies that have done it, but, it's still going to take time. So you need to, for a try, you need to be ready for the long haul, ready to put the time in, and you must have the means to do it as well, and that's not for every company. We can do it because we have the backing and the setup where we can do it. But if you can do it, I think you should do it, because what I found so far in these past 2 years is that's fantastic. To you get to work with super talented people. They're happy to be here and put their very best to build something that they're passionate about, and that's really rewarding. It's rewarding for them. It's rewarding for me as well. And I'm convinced now more than ever that this is the better and healthier way to work. Hopefully, soon we'll be able to show with results that I'm right. But it's going to take, it takes time. So it's going to take a bit more time.
Yeah, well, I get it. So in this type of if I can summarize it, in this type of approach, it's less about the processes that you set up. It's less about the management that you have. It's more about the culture that you build and the people that you hire. And that's why it's so difficult, because building a culture is, it's never done. It's something that you have to be constantly doing, constantly improving, constantly investing into. And there are many advices to do that, but not one right way. And you can fail in multiple different ways. That is, will come in a surprise. One single hire can severely hurt you. So there's or one single person who stayed for too long. One single not firing somebody can hurt you significantly. So there's a lot of everything is everything, and that's why it's so hard, because you don't even know what affects it.
And it's evolving. Totally, you're right. The culture is the core, and building it. And every company has to build their own culture, right? You can take inspirations, but at the end, you're going to develop your own culture, which is a job which is never done. And hiring is super important, because the people make the culture, right? As well, as you say. So It's a constant work of working on the culture, trying to keep it on the right track, making the right hires. Processes, we started, as I said, we try and put the least amount of processes, but of course, processes are needed at some point, and they will surface. You will surface the challenges, and you need to kind of start building some processes that can help you, move along and move faster. But it's everything you need to start building from scratch, basically. So it's all work.
So. And exactly, so it's all encompassing, and that's what makes it so difficult. You can't just change a process when something is not working and be like, okay, now let's try this. Now it's better. So, get it. All right, Massimo, what kind of people are you looking for Bandai Namco Mobile? For those who are listening, they got through this. They're fired up.
They should know already.
They're hungry. They're humble. They want to do it. But what kind of a skill set? So they know already what is the character of a person that would fit in your organization. But what is the skill set that you're looking for?
Well, we are hiring different profiles. In the game team, we're looking for some profiles in the marketing team as well. So I would say check out our website or LinkedIn profile to be up to date with the profiles that we need, because our approach is to slowly build up the team. So we're not going to push out like 50 job specs at one time. We're gonna go slowly and surely, looking at the profiles that we need. So right now we're looking for creative designers. We're looking for artists, developers, all different kind of profiles. And if you don't see something that's right for you, but you think you're right for us, get in touch with us, because we're also happy to review, answer the applications for the right people, as happened in the past, and we can make space for the right people.
All right. Well, there's a link in description of this podcast, so just click on that and you'll see all the current open positions whenever you're listening to this. And if you fit the profile of the type of people they're looking for, definitely something you should apply. Barcelona is an amazing city. Bandai Namco is a fantastic company, and it seems like you have an excellent setup for game makers to realize their dreams and make the type of games that they can be very proud of. So on that note, Massimo, thank you for joining the podcast and kind of explaining through the analysis and correcting, or just adding more context to the analysis that was made on Deconstructor of Fun. I always appreciate when people come in and kind of dive deeper into and give their own perspective that is the correct perspective, because we only operate on what has been said and analyze the words and what we see and what we hear. So thank you, Massimo, for that.
Thank you so much, Misha, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and catch the next episode. And remember to apply to Bandai if you're looking for next challenges.